Our nation's history and traditions denied my very personhood. Our nation's history and traditions bought and sold my ancestors. Our nation's history and traditions exploited the bodies of people who look like me. Only in America do we consider arming teachers while failing to pay them a livable wage. Only in America do survivors have to go and start GoFundMe pages to afford mental health and trauma supports. Only in America do we expect survivors who have barely buried their loved ones to make the case for policymakers to save lives.
This is about educators who have sleepless nights because they can't meet the monthly minimums and pay for childcare, who took on this debt because they want to educate our babies.
I've been in government long enough to know that it moves slowly, at a deliberate speed. And I'm a patient woman. But on the issue of climate change, we have run out of time. To my colleagues across the aisle who seek to obstruct and oppose legislation and policies that will help our shared constituents around the country protect their homes from climate change, it is not only alarming that you would move in this way, it is downright dangerous. Ms. Nagy, since U.S. property catastrophic reinsurance rates increased by as much as 50%, and now is not the time for anti-science, anti-environment culture wars. Now is the time for action to confront the climate crisis, because our community simply cannot afford to wait any longer. More and more individual lives are being impacted. More and more homes and communities are destroyed by natural disasters each year, whether it's tornado, wildfire, or hurricane. Which is one of the many reasons why I'm grateful that President Biden signed into law my legislation, the Post-Disaster Mental Health Act. But, you know, to those who would seek to weaponize what it means to be woke, I'm unapologetically woke. I'm awake, and my eyes are wide open, because I owe it to my constituents to not look away. Speaker, there are many who have arrived at this moment with newfound outrage at the prospect of this reversal of law. But many of us have been in the trenches of this fight for a long time, and we are not surprised. Reproductive justice organizers, Black, Brown, Indigenous, disabled, LGBTQ+, folks have been sounding the alarm, raising their voices, putting our bodies on the line in protest as anti-choice lawmakers across the country wage a full-fledged assault on our reproductive rights and freedom for too long. The right to control our own bodies, the right to determine our own fate, the right to decide if and when we have a child has been up for debate in the halls of power. SCOTUS claims that our human rights are invalidated by their opinions of what is and isn't rooted in our nation's, quote, history and traditions. A quick history lesson. Our nation's history and traditions denied my very personhood. Our nation's history and traditions bought and sold my ancestors. Our nation's history and traditions exploited the bodies of people who look like me. Our full humanity, our bodily autonomy, and our collective liberation hang in the balance. Madam Speaker, the court fails to live up to its ideals and its purpose. The idea of equal justice under the law has been a rallying cry, but not a reality for many. Only in America do we normalize mass shootings and the trauma left behind. Now, when a partner loses a spouse, we ascribe the word widow or widower. When a child loses their parent, we use the word orphan. There is no word to describe a parent who has suffered the devastating sorrow of losing a child. The unimaginable pain, grief, and trauma of burying your own baby. It just goes against the natural order of things. And with gun violence now the leading cause of death for children in society, now we're searching for a word for what do we call a surviving parent who has been robbed of their child due to a massacre.
This is about 76-year-olds in my district, Joy, on fixed incomes, still paying student loans, who fear that they're going to die, still paying on these loans. At this point, they owe more than they took out. I struggle to pay off my loans, and I want better for the next generation. This is a burdensome issue. This is no handout. Our colleagues across the aisle don't know what a hand up looks like. That's why they didn't want a child tax credit. That's why they didn't want to give life-saving health care to veterans. That's why they didn't want to give stimulus checks to people in the midst of a pandemic or make sure they remain safely housed. Democrats are connected to the pain that everyday people are experiencing, and we are doing something about it. We need to invest in tuition-free community college. We need to invest in HBCUs, and we need to expand Pell Grant. But this is impactful. This is a bold step in the right direction. It is transformative, and it will be felt.